Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name's Ian. Welcome back to the channel, Ian the Reader. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about my planned Stephen King TBR for the rest of 2024 / maybe into 2025 because this is a little bit ambitious. I do love me some Stephen King though, so we'll see what happens. So if you don't know, I've talked about it quite a bit on this channel recently, but I recently finished the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, which was such an undertaking because I read not only the 8 really Dark Tower books, but a series of other books, not a series, but a collection of other books from Stephen King's bibliography that were very closely tied to the Dark Tower. So it ended up being somewhere around like 15 books. And now, as of today, which is like mid-May 2024, I have read 42 Stephen King books, which for any other author would be absolutely crazy. And for Stephen King, it's not bad, but I still have a little bit less than half, I think, of his books to go, which crazy. And I'm excited about it. I love Stephen King. I love his books. I'm so glad that he's such a prolific author that has left me so many books to read. But that being said, I'm now left wondering, where do I go? You know, what do I do now that I finally finished the Dark Tower? And I've been asking myself that for months. What the heck do I do with myself now that I don't have the Dark Tower? So I've got some blanks to fill in, to be honest. So I really tried my best when reading the Dark Tower series to get all of the missing information, or not missing, because you could technically read the Dark Tower series all by itself. Wouldn't recommend it, but I've tried to read as much as I could about the books that were tied to the Dark Tower. That being said, I did inevitably miss some. So today I have all of the books that I need to get to soon from Stephen King. And I say need, these are just the ones I want to read. Ultimately, I could just never read another Stephen King book again and be totally fine, and have gotten everything I needed to from the Dark Tower series. It was wonderful, but I want the whole picture, dadgummit. So here's some more books I want to read, and not all of them are Dark Tower related, but a good portion of them have something to do with the Tower, so yes, these are the books by Stephen King that I still want to read in 2024. Starting off, we have some books that I think are very divisive. Big Stephen King fans often put these books at the bottom of their list when it comes to like Stephen King books. But some people really love these two books, and I want to hopefully be one of those people. So hopefully if I enter in with very low expectations, I will end up enjoying them. And I've heard from a couple people recently that you should read these books before reading the Dark Tower, so whoops! But I don't feel like I missed anything, and the people that I talked to in the videos I watched before didn't mention them. But I should tell you what the books are. They are The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub, and Black House by them as well, which is the sequel to The Talisman, which I don't own yet, but I do plan on reading these books pretty soon because, like I said, they are apparently essential reading for the Dark Tower. I think that it's not necessarily plot stuff as much as it is like certain ideas that are prevalent in especially the final books of the Dark Tower. So oh well, I missed out on that apparently, but I do want to read these anyway. So The Talisman and Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub will be happening this year. Next up, we have a collection of short stories, and the only collection of actual like short stories that I put on this list. That being said, I've read 2 Stephen King collections this year so far, those being The Bizarre Bad Dreams and his newest collection, You Like It Darker, which I'll have a review out for soon. But I want to read more of his short stories. That being said, I've decided to go with this one because I've already read a couple from it, and that collection is Everything's Eventual. So 2 stories in this, The Little Sisters, or The Sisters of Arulia and Everything's Eventual, both of those were Dark Tower related, so I've read those, but I want to read the rest of the collection now. So I will be reading this as well. I also really want to get to Night Shift, so that one's unofficially on this list. If I read this and I just really want more Stephen King short fiction, I may read Night Shift, but Everything's Eventual is my short story collection that I still want to get to this year for sure. Next up is one that I'm not particularly excited for, but I'm gonna do it because I feel like I have to, and that is the Gwendy trilogy by Stephen King and Richard Chizmar. So the second book in this is actually only by Richard Chizmar, and then the 2 of them came back together for the final book. And the reason that I feel like I need to read this is because the Dark Tower itself is literally on the cover of book 3. So like, I don't know how it ties in, but I feel like I gotta read it, so I'm gonna. I have actually already read this book, and it was fine. I think I actually gave it 4 stars at the time, but it was very early on in my Stephen King reading. I think it was like the second or third book by him that I ever read. So a little nervous to revisit it because people don't typically love these books, but hopefully I'll have a good enough time with them. And like I said, I liked it the first time, so we'll see. And I know the second book is pretty short as well. This is only like 180 pages or something like that. And then the third book's a little bit longer, but not that long. So hopefully I like them, and hopefully it's worth my time. One other book that I'm really excited to be reading that I don't have is Different Seasons, of course, by Stephen King. Now this one, I've actually read one of them, but it's like the least popular one of the stories. I haven't read Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. I haven't read The Body. I haven't read Apt Pupil. I've read whatever that other one is. I cannot remember what it's called. And I read it for a class. But I want to go back and reread that one, and I want to read the rest of those because this is a very, very popular and, acclaimed collection, considering Shawshank Redemption and Stand By Me both have are based on stories from this collection. So hopefully I'll really love Different Seasons. I feel like it's one that ranks very highly for Stephen King fans, so I'm hopeful that I will love it as well. But again, I'm gonna keep my expectations in check, and hopefully things will go well. Yeah, we've got 2 more things to talk about. First up are some books that I don't own, and those are Desperation by Stephen King and The Regulators by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King. So this one has some themes that are in The Dark Tower as well, like the idea of twinners and stuff. If you read The Dark Tower, then you know. But these stories are like kind of parallel stories in that they are, I actually don't really know. I don't know if it's like different dimensions in the same city or something like that, but these 2 stories are like basically set similarly, but told from 2 different authors, quote unquote, Stephen King and Richard Bachman, and very, very different. So I'm very fascinated by that, and I'm excited to try them out. These are 2 that I've actually been really interested in for some time, and I feel like I want to read them either in tandem or one and then the other one right after that, so I can really get the comparisons. So I might do a buddy read for that at some point. If I can find anybody who wants to read both Desperation and The Regulators with me, maybe I'll do that. But yeah, I'm really excited about these. I've only read one Richard Bachman book before. That's The Long Walk. So I'm excited to see how the styles differ from book to book, specifically reading similar stories back to back. And hopefully I enjoy both of these. Fingers crossed. I don't own either of them though, so I'll have to get them at some point. And the last book in 2024 that I'm hoping to read by Stephen King, and I say that lightly, like I'm such a mood reader, who knows, I'll probably pick up a different Stephen King or another Stephen King, or I'll read all of these or none of these, who knows what's gonna happen, but this is the plan. Under the Dome. Did you hear that thwack? This book is humongous. Yeah, so I'm scared. And I know this isn't like people's favorite. Look at that. I actually already have a bookmark there because I've already started it. What am I? 35 pages in. Cool beans. I don't know. I'll probably save it for later though because I'm really scared of that book. It's quite long, and I've heard that it's like not Stephen King's best long book. But I was actually scrolling through Goodreads looking at like his top rated books. And I've read everything from like top down until this. This is like the most popular Stephen King book that I have not read yet, according to Goodreads. So I feel like I have to read it, and I want to read it, and I'm gonna have a good time, dadgummit. I insist upon it, but we'll see what happens. No promises. Of these, I think that my favorite is probably, let me get my list here. I think my favorite is probably gonna be Different Seasons. If I had to predict my least favorite, it's probably one of the Gwendy books. Hopefully not The Talisman, because that's stinking long to hate it. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what Stephen King books you really want to get to soon. Maybe we can read them at the same time, or I can at least tell you if I love them or want to read them. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.